your students?
I always tell my students I don't have friends their age, and that's where I leave it.
Yes, exactly. So teachers, are you crossing the line with your students? Are you going above and beyond that thin line between being professional and wanting to be their friend? Ms. Stevens, do you think, I know there's a line, and I know you know there's a line, but do you think teachers are cognizant of you can't necessarily go so far with your intentions for students, no matter how you're trying to teach?
I think it's harder the older your students are, because in my mind, at least, if you're a teacher and you have first grade students, you're not going to befriend your first grade students. Like, there's a clear separation. But I think the older your students get, the more hazy that line becomes, especially if you have students, let's say, that have graduated out of your building on the middle school or the high school level.
Right.
Can those students befriend you on Facebook? Or can you, do you write your email address in a student's yearbook so that you can, just track their progress and let them have access to you in case they need any additional mentoring or, it becomes very, very blurry.
And skewed
the older
if you're not
students
careful.
are. So I just think teachers just need to be very clear of what that line is and just make sure that you maintain that at all times.
I always say to maintain your professionalism, because it's so easy to get trapped and manipulated into a relationship with a student that's inappropriate. And, if you're joking, and I've seen it time and time again. I've seen, there's a lot of playing, a lot of giggling, a lot of jumping on the backs of teachers, a lot of, please, and it becomes disrespectful. And at what point do you say, this is, crossing the line? And I think a lot of teachers believe that, especially like you said with the high school students, let me try to be friends with them because they'll respect me more, or, they won't say something to me that's inappropriate, or they won't, be angry with me, or, we'll have this relationship. But there's no such relationship with a student. There's a teacher and a student relationship, and there's a professional relationship that you have with your students. You're not their friends. You're not there to be your student's friend. And according to smartclassroommanagement.com, it's very dangerous, very, very dangerous. 7 signs that you should not be friends with your students. And tell me if you agree with these, Ms. Stevens.
Okay, ready?
And it's by Michael Linson. So thank you, Michael Linson. Number 1, they won't respect you. When you try to be your students' friends, they eventually won't respect you. They say your students need someone to look up to, not a buddy to hang out with. And when you use slang, hey, what's up? What it do? What it do? Hey, when you use slang and things like that and become overly friendly, they eventually start to lose respect for you, as children always do.
I think that can be true.
You think that's an absolute?
I don't think that's an absolute. I think there's a fine line between the usage of slang, because you want to be able to relate to your students on their level.
Yes.
But I think at a certain point, students don't appreciate it, and it becomes comical.
Yeah, it does. With my first graders, I just do a little fist pump, and I say their name. Hi, Marquise. Hi, Toya. Hi, whoever, I just do a little fist pump, and they enjoy that. But that's as far as I'll take it. With my first graders, of course, a hug to them means the world. So, I'll do that. Number 2, they'll stop listening to you. Becoming too informal and casual with your interactions with your students will weaken the power of your words.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree.
100%, absolutely, because eventually, like with friends, you fall out. And with students, they know they're being nice to you because they can get something from you. Yes. But eventually, you're only as good as the last thing that you've done. So if they don't have a need for you, then they have no reason to respect you. Okay, number 3, they'll challenge you. As soon as they get a whiff of the cool teacher vibe, they'll start challenging and testing you, and likely find yourself in a showdown with a few or more of your students bent on wresting control of the classroom from you. So what happens is those same students that you were trying to be cool with, now they're figuring, oh, well, I'm cool with Miss Stevens, so now I can run this classroom and I can let everybody, listen, you need to have a seat, you need to sit down, I'm with Miss Stevens. And then they start sitting by you and they start chumming up to you. Too much.
I agree with that, yes.
Way too much. Number 4, rules no longer apply. Your students will react to your buddy-buddy management style by routinely and nonchalantly breaking the rules. They'll stand and approach you in the middle of the class lesson. They'll stop raising their hand. They'll assume, since you're friends, the rules just really don't apply to them. And that's what I was just saying. They'll start with that, "Hey, Miss Stevens, what's up, girl? Oh, Miss Stevens, you off the hook. Oh, please, girl, churl cheese."
Oh, picture that.
You better have a seat, sir, little man. Number 5, consequences are taken personally. So your students will start to react to being placed in timeout, and by blaming you, they'll become hurt and angry with you for you merely doing what you said you would do. And some may even pout and have a mini temper tantrum and refuse to talk to you.
I could see that happening.
So it makes discipline a lot harder.
Yes. Eventually, yes.
Yes. Number 6, accountability, no longer works. Now, it only works when students acknowledge internally that they indeed made a mistake. But if you start sitting in timeout and they're mad at you because you feel that they betrayed you by putting them there, then the accountability and the motivation for you putting them there in the first place pretty much goes out the window. It goes out the door because you put them in timeout for a reason, but they see that buddy-buddy system like, "Are you serious? You have me in timeout? Like, are you kidding me?" So your accountability just goes right out the door.
Okay.
Do you agree with that one?
I do, but to be fair, I think as teachers, we are constantly assessing the environment in our classroom.
And adjusting.
There's a constant check and balance that goes on throughout the year. And,
Yes.
and at different points during the year, you may become a little lax, and
You
then you
do.
have to tighten the
You do.
reins once again. So I think there's a delicate balance to a lot of what you're saying, even though I agree on the surface.
Yes.
I think there still is a balance that has to be achieved.
I think you're right. When I first started teaching, they would always say, "Don't smile. Don't show them, any emotion, be firm, be hard, just be lifeless pretty much." And until like the middle of the year, once you get to see them and they know who you are and what you stand for and what, your classroom rules and what you want them to learn. So they always said that, but I never thought that applied to younger children because they need a different type of motivation. They need a different type of care. They need a different type of understanding from us. So we give them that. Number 7, you become lax in following, like you said, Ms. Stevens, your classroom management plan because your students tend to act dramatically when given a consequence. You naturally try to shy away from following your classroom management plan. You'll tiptoe around them, and someone is doing something that's not what they're supposed to be doing, but because you want to keep that buddy-buddy, you want to be liked so much, you tend not to say anything to them, so you allow your management, plan to just go all over the place.
Okay.
Do you agree with that? Do you see that?
Yes, but there's that balance again where you have to constantly assess the environment in your classroom, so yes.
Yes. Now it's time for the tea spills in the teacher's lounge. Do you have a New Year's resolution?
I'm past making New Year's resolutions. I have goals that I set for myself, but resolutions, not so much.
Yeah, I just want to hit lotto. It's more of a goal than it is a resolution. So hoping that'll come true. So I'm going to play. I said what I'm going to do is I'm going to play every week.
Yes, I play every
I'm going to
week.
diligently play every single week. And nothing as of yet.
I'm just saying.
Okay, it's going to come. 2018 is our year. Now it's time for my favorite segment with Miss Kajana Stevens and Tech Out Education. Miss Stevens?
Thanks so much, Shan. Code.org is a nonprofit dedicated to expanding access to computer science and increasing participation by women and underrepresented minorities. Their vision is that every student in every school should have the opportunity to learn computer science just like biology, chemistry, or algebra. Code.org organizes the annual Hour of Code, a campaign which has engaged 10% of all students in the leading curriculum for K-12 computer science in the largest school districts in the United States. Now, although Black, Latin, American Indian, and Native Pacific Islander students are dramatically underrepresented in university computer science departments, making up just 17% of computer science majors, and in AP computer science exams, it may seem that they're less interested in studying computer science than their white or Asian counterparts. However, Their participation in code.org courses suggests the opposite. They ran an analysis on high school computer science classrooms, and it turns out that underrepresented minorities do choose to sign up for computer science classes at much higher rates than the national AP data would suggest. And I'm Kajana Stevens, and I'll check you out later.